Hey guys, Zane here with another quick one-take review, and today I wanted to talk about the Weavers at Carnegie Hall. At Carnegie Hall, along with the rest of the Weavers' catalog, is pretty much one of the most important catalogs in the history of American folk music. Now, there's no denying that cats from similar and earlier time periods like Woody Guthrie are the significantly more famous, well-known, and even well-respected individuals within early American folk music. However, the Weavers may be one of the most important. They nearly single-handedly ushered in a new wave of folk music. You have to think that by the late 50s, mainstream music was being taken over by different forms of jazz and blues and country and even rock music by this point. And beyond that, genres that had been huge things and then died off by this point included stuff like swing and even to some extent other forms of folk-esque music that just simply wasn't quite proper folk. This folk revival would continue for quite some time, and I mean, it was kind of a big deal. There's a couple pretty notable names in there, Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Joan Baez, even to some extent, artists like Joni Mitchell were all directly made by this sort of folk revival that the Weavers had a heavy hand in creating in the first place. It's not hard to see why the public took such major interest in the Weavers in the first place, as At Carnegie Hall is an amazing example of just how fantastic they were as live performers. At Carnegie Hall has a variety of different songs, the vast majority of which are traditional tracks that range from so famous they're probably already ingrained into your mind even if you haven't heard the Weavers version already, like Goodnight Irene, and some more obscure but still classic traditional songs like Go Where I Send Thee, which are great to hear as well due to their obscurity within the realm of different sorts of folk music. The Weavers harmonize extremely well, each member's vocal work is fantastic, and overall they perform these songs as if they themselves actually wrote them. They're that virtuosic in terms of performance. Now, the recording quality isn't great, which is understandable since, late 1950s recording quality for anything wasn't great at the time period, and those who are listeners of modern folk and sort of alt-country kind of music, or even people familiar with the 1960s' own take on the American folk revival, will definitely feel like At Carnegie Hall is somewhat prehistoric in terms of sound. But hey, I mean, even cave people are known to produce masterworks from time to time, and this is no exception. The Weavers' At Carnegie Hall is a definitive moment of 20th century folk music, and perhaps within the, maybe top 3 most important moments that folk music in general has ever had in its entire history from the pre-20th century onwards. This is one of the truly just defining moments, not only at Carnegie Hall in particular, but the Weavers' career as a whole. Even if this record is a bit rough around the edges, it's still an amazing listen from a historical aspect, it's performed incredibly well, and the song selection is fantastic. I'm going to give At Carnegie Hall 4 stars out of 5, and my one take on this album is that, yeah, sure, the sound quality is rough to say the least at times, but then again, there are a couple of times where it's actually pretty good, all things considered. Like I said before, song selection strong, the Weavers perform as well as you would hope they would. They don't really go overboard, but that's actually a great thing. They know how to really stay controlled in their own versions of the songs they're performing while making them uniquely their own. A lot of the record is very dramatic, especially with songs like Kisses Sweeter Than Wine that almost feel apocalyptic in retrospect in terms of actual performance, and generally speaking, I just think this is an essential listen if you want to get into country music, or not country music, but folk music, I apologize, and I would recommend this to people who really just want to get into folk music in the first place, and people who are also looking for pre-60s and non-early rock and roll music as well, and also live albums from the period. Generally speaking, I would actually recommend this to anybody who just enjoys chill, laid-back music that's okay with a live environment, and I just think it's a very accessible record that if you're interested in it, I highly recommend. Again, it's on Spotify, YouTube, etc., etc. You can find it just about anywhere, so I do highly recommend it. And again, 4 stars out of 5. And with that being said, that's the end of this quick review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.